Open your fridge right now. Soda, leftover pizza, yogurt, maybe a strawberry that got flown in from another continent. To the people who built your body, none of that would look like food. It would look like a miracle from a world they couldn't imagine. So what did they actually eat? The real answer will change how you think about every craving you've ever had. Let's go back. Not 100 years, not 1,000, 3 million years, to the very start. Your earliest ancestors weren't hunters. They were leftovers hunters. When a lion took down an antelope on the open plains, it ate the good parts first, the muscle, the liver, the heart. Then the hyenas moved in and crushed through the ribs and the smaller bones. By the time your ancestors got anywhere near the body, almost nothing was left. Almost. There were still the thick leg bones, the ones too tough for hyena jaws to crack. And that's exactly what your ancestors wanted. Inside those bones was marrow, soft, fatty, dripping with calories. Your ancestors would creep up to the picked-over carcass, grab a leg bone, and smash it open with a sharp piece of stone. Then they'd scoop the marrow out with bare fingers and eat it raw, right there in the open. No other scavenger on the savannah could do that. Hyenas had stronger jaws. Vultures had better eyes. But only your ancestors had hands built to grip a rock hard enough to crack solid bone. That gap in the food chain was theirs, and theirs alone. They cracked skulls too. A single head holds close to a pound of pure fat, and fat is the richest fuel in the entire animal kingdom. Finding an intact skull was like finding a gold coin on the ground. This is why your body still treats fat as something precious. It hasn't forgotten. And when the big scavenging opportunities dried up, they ate insects, termites, beetles, fat white grubs the size of a thumb, crunching like shrimp between their teeth. This wasn't a last resort. For most of human history, bugs were dinner, plain and simple. This was life. For well over 1 million years, generation after generation, that was the entire menu. Then something changed everything. Fire. The oldest confirmed human campfire sits inside a cave in South Africa, and it's roughly 1 million years old. Once your ancestors controlled fire, they could cook, and cooking is basically pre-digestion. Raw meat and raw roots take hours for your gut to break down. Cooked food arrives already halfway broken apart. Your body spends less energy digesting and pulls out more calories per bite. Scientists think that as cooking took hold, the human gut actually got smaller, because it didn't need to work as hard anymore. And all that spare energy went somewhere. It went to the brain. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns roughly 20% of your daily calories. You cannot run an organ that expensive on raw termites and wild greens. You need cooked, fat-rich food. In a very real sense, cooking built the brain that's reading this sentence right now. By around 300,000 years ago, your ancestors looked pretty close to how you look today, and the menu had exploded. Mammoth, bison, wild horse, fish pulled from rivers, shellfish cracked open on rocks, roots, berries, wild grains, mushrooms, eggs stolen straight out of nests, and honey, especially honey. There's a tribe in Tanzania today called the Hadza, and they still live almost exactly the way humans lived before farming existed. About 15% of their entire calorie intake comes from wild honey. They climb dangerous trees, take hundreds of bee stings, and go right back for more, because nothing else in the wild packs that much energy into one bite. And here's where it gets personal. That exact same craving is still wired into you, right now, tonight. Sugar gave your ancestors two things at once: an instant hit of usable energy, and extra fuel their bodies could store as fat for the lean months ahead. A dripping honeycomb was the richest meal most humans would ever see in their entire lives. Your brain cannot tell the difference between wild honey in a tree and a donut on a counter. Modern food companies figured that out a long time ago, and now sugar is hiding inside soda, cereal, sauces, and even bread, wearing a different costume every time. That's why you can't just stop at one bite. Some ancient part of you is still trying to store fat for a famine that isn't coming. Meat did something similar. One big kill could feed a whole group for weeks, buying back hundreds of hours that would otherwise be spent digging roots. That extra time went into raising children, making better tools, and telling stories around the fire. Every craving running through you today was built by whatever kept your ancestors alive yesterday. But there's one craving people don't like to talk about. In a cave in England called Goff's Cave, Archaeologists found human bones nearly 15,000 years old, and those bones told a story nobody wanted to hear. The skulls had been carefully cleaned with stone tools, the face and base removed, and what was left had been shaped, rim by rim, into a cup. The long bones were cracked open, exactly the way your ancestors once cracked open antelope legs for marrow. And here's the part that makes it worse. This wasn't starvation. The same cave is full of horse bones, deer bones, and other food. There was plenty to eat. One study calculated that a human body provides around 125,000 calories. A single bison provides nearly 600,000, a mammoth close to 3 million. In terms of pure calories, eating a person was a terrible deal. So this wasn't about hunger. One forearm bone from that cave had been carved with a careful zigzag pattern after every scrap of meat was gone. That's not desperation. That's ritual. And Goff's cave isn't unique. Similar remains have turned up across Germany, France, Spain, and Croatia. In different corners of the world, at different times, humans did this to each other, and not always because they had no other choice. Somewhere along the way, we decided it meant something. It gets stranger still. Your ancestors didn't only eat fresh meat, they ate rotten meat, on purpose. When a hunt succeeded, there was often more meat than anyone could eat right away, so they buried it, sank it in cold streams, or stashed it in caves, and simply waited. Days, weeks, sometimes longer. By the time they came back, the meat was crawling with maggots and reeked of decay, and they ate it anyway. Some researchers think they actually preferred it that way, because rotting meat has already been partly broken down by bacteria. It's easier to chew, easier to digest, and the bacteria even produce vitamins your body needs. Your taste buds still remember. Every fermented food you love is just rot, slowed down and made safe. Cheese, yogurt, sourdough, beer, wine, soy sauce, pickles. None of that started in a factory. It started on a savanna, tens of thousands of years ago, with something far less appetizing. Every craving you have right now, for fat, for salt, for sugar, for the richest thing on the shelf, is a program that's been running inside you for 3 million years. Your body has never heard of a grocery store or a refrigerator. All it knows is one instruction: eat what's rich, eat what's rare, eat while you still can. Because tomorrow there might be nothing at all. So the next time you're standing in front of an open fridge at 11 at night, not even hungry, just looking, understand what's actually happening. You're not being lazy. You're not being weak. You are running a 3 million-year-old survival program in a world that stopped needing it decades ago. Drop a person from 50,000 years ago into your kitchen right now, and they wouldn't understand a single thing they were looking at. A cold, sweet drink sealed inside metal. Bread nobody had to grind by hand. Milk that stays fresh for weeks without spoiling. Fruit shipped in from the other side of the planet. To them, it wouldn't look like a kitchen. It would look like a god's pantry. And here's the strange part. For almost the entire history of our species, every single human who ever lived was hungry, cold, and tired, more often than not. You might be one of the first who isn't. You just don't have any idea how rare that actually is.